Well, Gaffer, first and foremost, let's start with Liam Shepherd's decision. Been overturned by the FA, quite rightly so, obviously, and obviously you got him available for Saturday's game. It
is really the only decision that the disciplinary panel selected by the Football Association could have deduced. They took all the evidence into consideration, of course, the angles that we seen the footage from. My understanding is Plymouth Argyle submitted some additional footage, which of course they're entitled to do. In fact, the Football Association, with an integrity, probably asked for that footage. But we've seen that footage prior to the appeal process, and it was laughable that it was a card of any description. So the FA found in the favour of Liam. But in our opinion, and the opinion of the Football Association panel, it's the only decision they could have reached, and it was as unanimous by that panel as why it's been overturned.
Yeah, I understand from the media today that Plymouth have written to the FA about a number of things regarding that game. Obviously, they were disappointed that the red card was overturned as well. Obviously, we wait to see what findings come from that, I guess.
Well, as you know, I've not seen the media because I've literally stepped off the training ground. I'm not fully aware of the content, but just from what you're saying to me, Phil, is that I suppose they would have included in the letter the dive in the first half in an attempt to win a penalty by young Carey. Did they include that? And if they've written that, I suppose they've not mentioned, they couldn't have possibly mentioned the red card for us because they know it's not a red card. And in fact, one or two of the players in our dressing room who I know have made that their opinion and the opinion of the Argyle dressing room. But that's not our business if they write to the Football Association. Every football club and every manager and every person involved in this great sport is entitled to write. But I don't suppose they'll be mentioning too much about the decisions they got in their favour. And of course, we were unjustly dealt with on the day, and that's not only the opinion of the match referee post-match when he looks back at the evidence on the video, but also the head of referees who looks at these things neutrally, often calls you as a manager and said no, he thinks his referee or his assistant, whoever it is on the day, has got it right. And the head of referees has got a real integrity about him because he does call it both ways. And believe me, on Sunday morning, he was telling me how much of an unjust we had in 4 decisions in the game, not just the red card.
Yeah, Plymouth, one of probably 5 clubs going for 2 spots within the playoff positions. They're a big club, Plymouth, and they showed that with the fan base that they had in the game on Saturday.
Listen, I said it at the time. I go family holidays there, certainly annually. You know, my immediate family go twice annually. I go down every year. They're great people. They're the salt of the earth. Warnock lives down there, and they put up with Warnock. You know, so that speaks for itself. But no, Neil's always said they're beautiful people, and he's often seen at Argyle games. I think he's friendly with the chairman. But yeah, so nothing against them. I thought the crowd were great. I thought the atmosphere was terrific. They've got a good side. They're blessed with good players. Manager who's doing a tremendous job, and I think I've made comment on that. But you can't defend a wrong. You can't defend a wrong. 2 wrongs don't make it right. So does young Carey's 2 dives make it right? No, it makes it terrible, considering the talent he's got. Because let me be clear, outside Marcus Maddison, he's the most gifted player to watch when it's about creativity and setting up goals. Outside Marcus, he's the best.
Now, this week away from the Plymouth game, you went to watch Rochdale, I believe, on Tuesday against Wigan. And although Wigan ran out comfortable winners in the end, they put up a real good fight in that game.
Well, at half-time, of course, the Wigan's turned the goal in front, and they've turned the goal in front from a set play. And 6 feet giant, 6'6", whatever it is, Dan Bird, good centre-back, gets on the end of a second phase from a corner and scores. But if it had been 2-2, 3-3 at half-time, maybe even 3-2 to Rochdale, I don't think Cookie at Wigan would have had a complaint because they were very offensive, some heroic defending, 1 or 2 good saves and 1 or 2 poor finishes. And I think Keith Howes made comment overnight on that to say that they could have perhaps walked the Wigan goalkeeper on 2 or 3 occasions, but he was right. For me, the best team in the league with the best, you know, coaching staff and everything else around it is going to be the champions. So it was never a 4-1 game. We had a 2-0 reverse up there early in the season. It wasn't just 2; it was probably 2 going on 4 or 5 or 6 maybe. And we have to make sure that we're competitive on Saturday. It's an opportunity to win a game, and it's an opportunity to get back in the playoff group with 4 games to go. Yeah,
with the imbalance that you had when you came in, it was always important that those home games were crucial for you. Obviously 2 wins from the 3 games so far with 2 to play, and I guess from a management perspective you've got to set your roots in the home games and make sure you do business at home, and then you can look at those away games in isolation.
I think it's not always will supporters look at a change of manager and think of the circumstances, and the circumstances are there was a big imbalance in away games versus home games, so that makes it harder to get points. And there was a big imbalance in terms of players available versus players not available with injuries or suspensions or such like. But you have to cope with that. I knew the ground rules when I came in. I knew what the chairman had told me. Nothing but 100% fact. Backed up, of course, by the 2 new additions to the board. So we knew what we were picking up. And our thoughts was we're going to go and give this our best. And whether we are successful in getting in the playoffs or not, then our process of hard work will begin in the summer to make the Posh supporters, allow the Posh supporters, a better word, to have a better team. Because at the end of the day, I don't work for Darren McAntony. Of course I do. He's my boss. He says go or no. And of course, so does these 2 fellow directors now. But I work for the Posh supporters. They always decide your future.
In terms of team selection, you've already played 1 game without Marcus Maddison. Where is he at this moment in time in terms of availability?
He's in the canteen having his lunch. That's what he is at this minute in time. Listen, we're working hard to get Marcus fit. It is 50-50. When we say it's 50-50, we've got him involved in some external work as well, and external machinery that you can almost hire, if you like, by the hour to speed that process up, because he's so important to us. And I had the kid in the office this morning. He's almost in tears because he wants to play and he knows these games are important to us. We'll give him every opportunity. If he's available for selection, of course he plays. Absolutely, 100%. Why wouldn't you play the man with the most assists in the English Football League system? And of course, does he work as hard? It's probably the hardest work in the Football League. No, but the hardest work in the Football League will never make an assist. So what would we rather have? We'd rather have the magic of Marcus Maddison. So we'll give him every opportunity.
Is it a similar sort of thing with Ryan Taffazoli as well in monitoring that as it progresses? Yeah,
very much so. We'll work Taff this afternoon, then we'll see if there's a reaction overnight. It's never ideal if Big Taff misses, and of course we got Stephen suspended, then we have to look at other alternative options. But you know, the focus after we train tomorrow will be who we've got rather than who we've not got. There's no point in me worrying about missing Marcus if he's not available. I have to worry about who's going to play in his position and who's going to fill the role and who's going to do well. And we've, in fairness to Grant McCann, we've a good squad of players here. We're probably a bit decimated if we go into certainly the weekend. But you know, 1 game in isolation won't be the difference out of these games whether we get in this playoff group or not. We win 4 of them, we're in it.
And just finally, the results elsewhere, do you ever pay any attention to that? I know Charlton obviously had their game in hand in midweek. Do you try and focus on your own job in terms of getting the points on the board, and what happens elsewhere happens elsewhere? Well,
I think the one thing you can't do is you can't affect anything that happens elsewhere. But I wouldn't be foolish to say I was not aware that Charlton were losing at half-time at Wimbledon on Tuesday. Of course I'm aware, because I'm not involved in a game. Had we been playing, I would have no interest till well after we deduced the conversation with our players. And then, of course, you're asking what's happened around the country. But everyone plays everyone in this run. We've got teams at the bottom end, teams in the middle end, teams at the top end, and you know there's no more than 3 points for beating each of them or 1 point for drawing with them. But we're going to be totally focused. It is one at a time. The dressing room quite rightly felt hot by some of the decisions last weekend, and I'm not going back over it. I've said my last words on Plymouth, but they felt hot by it. It was the nature of it. Many managers, and I mean many, not 2 or 3, have called the decision disgraceful. I wouldn't go as far as that. I would say as a young referee got guided wrongfully by an assistant referee who had no right. The head of referees told me this assistant referee had no right to get involved from that distance of the play, but he did, and a young referee got pressured into making a decision that was not right. So we'll be focused, we'll be ready, and against a real good, tough competitor.